My autistic husband finally loved me back after I filed for divorce. I was 20 when I married Lucas Harper, a man with autism spectrum disorder. During our 5 years of marriage, he kept me at arm's length. He couldn't stand my touch, let alone share a bed with me. Then another woman entered his life. Around her, Lucas tucked away all his bad moods, awkwardly learning to be gentle. He composed music for her, gave her little gifts. He even let her into his study, the one room I was never allowed to enter. Now that Lucas had someone he cared about, I wouldn't be staying to take care of him anymore. So, I went to see his grandfather, William Harper. I told him I wanted a divorce. Chapter 1. Before I met Lucas, my life had never been easy. My mother was obsessed with appearances. She fell for my father because he was handsome. She loved him desperately, moved in with him without checking his background. That's how I came to exist. After I was born, Mom discovered Dad was from old money. The kind of money that could set her up for life without lifting a finger. But there was a catch: Dad had married into wealth. In other words, he'd climbed the social ladder through marriage. And Mom? She was the other woman. One day, the wife showed up to catch Mom in the act. Dad, who'd always acted tough around Mom, turned into a whipped dog in front of his wife. He immediately cut Mom off and denied I was his child. Mom raised me alone, struggling every step of the way. She drove for Uber, worked retail, even got chased by mall security once, lost her shoe running 3 blocks. Eventually, Mom couldn't take it anymore. She said she'd find me a better life. I don't know what she did, but she got a paternity test proving I was Dad's. Then she showed up at his mansion, making a scene, demanding he take responsibility for me. The family agreed, to protect their reputation. That's how Mom and I were separated. The day she dropped me off at the Morrison estate, she smiled through her tears. "Sophie, baby, you'll never go hungry again." But it wasn't that simple. Dad saw me as a burden. His wife hated me. The staff, sensing which way the wind blew, treated me accordingly. As for my half-sisters, they made tormenting me their daily entertainment. I never told Mom any of this. That day at the Morrison gates was the last time I ever saw her. She had cancer, late stage, couldn't afford treatment. After leaving me with Dad, she jumped off a bridge. I grew up in the Morrison house, walking on eggshells. When I was 15, I met a boy in the garden. His arm was bleeding from rose thorns. But he seemed oblivious, lost in his music through his headphones. After a moment's hesitation, I brought antiseptic and bandages, cleaned his wound. Later I learned his name was Lucas Harper. His grandfather had brought him to visit. For some reason, William Harper took a liking to me. He wanted me as his grandson's wife. The Harpers were old money aristocracy. Dad agreed without hesitation. My sisters heard and mocked me. "You think you found your meal ticket? If it was such a good match, why would it go to you? Lucas Harper has autism and bipolar disorder. He's not normal." But because of Lucas, my stepmother treated me slightly better. Life at the Morrison house improved. At least no one bullied me anymore. I often thought of that first meeting, the quiet, thin boy listening to music in the garden. He had no idea how much he'd helped me through difficult times. I was grateful to him. I started researching his conditions, learning how to interact with him. At 20, our families arranged our marriage. Chapter 2. I didn't realize how much Lucas resented marrying me. After the wedding, he never showed me kindness. He wouldn't let me touch him, much less share his bed. On our wedding night, he had a meltdown in the bridal suite. "Get out. Don't be in my room. Leave. Get out now." I hung my head, humiliation washing over me. That night, William found me. He said Lucas had always been withdrawn, didn't like human contact. The housekeeper who'd cared for Lucas had just passed away. His condition was particularly bad right now. He asked me to be patient, give Lucas time. I agreed. From then on, I took over caring for Lucas. Juggling between university and the Harper mansion. Reminding Lucas to take his medication. Taking him to doctor appointments, planning his meals and choosing his clothes. Thankfully, Lucas wasn't completely unresponsive. He gradually began acknowledging me. He stopped telling me to get out. When I fell asleep on the couch, he'd awkwardly cover me with a blanket. When I had cramps, he'd make me hot chocolate. But he still wouldn't share a bed with me. The Harpers had only one heir per generation. Lucas was the only male. William desperately wanted great-grandchildren, pressuring me constantly. But if Lucas wasn't willing, what could I do? Finally, in our 5th year, William lost patience. Without my knowledge, he drugged Lucas. Then delivered him to my bed. Locked the door, trapping us inside. That night remains vivid in my memory. Pain. Unbearable pain. Under the drug's influence, his eyes were glazed, acting on pure instinct. But he had no experience, was rough. I felt like I was being torn apart, tears streaming down. Near dawn, I couldn't take any more and passed out. The next afternoon, I woke to the sound of breaking objects. Chapter 3. Lucas was furious that day. He'd smashed my phone to pieces, destroyed the wall-mounted TV, overturned tables and chairs. When I woke, he stood before me holding a mirror. In the reflection, I was disheveled, covered in red marks and bruises. He pointed at my reflection, disgust filling his eyes. You're filthy. Disgusting. I hate you. Don't want to see you again. I was incredibly weak then, swaying on my feet. But after Lucas's episode, he disappeared. I had to go find him. From noon to midnight, I searched without eating. I checked every place he frequented, walked until my legs trembled. Still couldn't find him. When I finally dragged myself home at 1 a.m., Lucas had returned. With a girl beside him. She had a dimple when she smiled, looking incredibly sweet. Only then did I realize Lucas had gone to a concert alone. His phone died, he couldn't find his way home. This girl brought him back. Lucas walked slowly. The short distance took forever. They discussed music, composers, and performers I didn't recognize. I stood at the door, listening silently. They talked for 30 minutes. Lucas never noticed me there. The butler finally couldn't stand it. Sir, it's very late. You should rest. Madam has been waiting for you. The girl followed his gaze to me, startled, asking Lucas, is this your wife? Lucas looked embarrassed, paused, then nodded. Then quickly added, forced. Don't like her. Hate her. In that moment, I froze. Shame washed over me, leaving me nowhere to hide. The girl's name was Rachel Green. Rachel tugged Lucas's sleeve, smiling with narrowed eyes. It's late, let's talk another time. After that, my relationship with Lucas hit rock bottom again. He wouldn't speak a single word to me. On his birthday, I bought him the latest noise-canceling headphones. Premium quality, high demand. I'd pre-ordered 6 months in advance. But Lucas just took out a lighter and burned them to pieces in front of me. Don't like you. Don't like your gifts either. Garbage. Don't want it. That birthday, he went out to celebrate with Rachel. Since that meeting, he'd kept in contact with her. Recently, Rachel had even started interning at his studio. That night when he came home, he wore a new silver ring. Rachel's birthday gift to him. Looking at the headphones in pieces on the floor, I felt exhausted. The next day, William suddenly called, asking me to come see him. He needed me to get a document from Lucas's study for his secretary. But I knew Lucas never allowed me in his study. I hesitated. William urged that the document was urgent, his secretary was waiting outside. After thinking, I decided to get it. Before leaving, I carefully restored everything in the study. But Lucas still found out I'd been there. Chapter 4. His phone was connected to the study's security camera. He rushed back from the studio, fury and darkness clouding his features. You can't go in. You can't. His emotions raged like an invisible storm through the room. Because I'd retrieved one document, he had the entire study deep cleaned. I stared at him, asking the question in my heart. Why can't I go in? Recently, Lucas often invited Rachel over. They discussed music in the study, staying all day. Why could Rachel enter, but not me? Also, I'm not dirty. Why have the study cleaned? His face grew colder. She's different from you. She understands music. A kindred spirit. You don't understand. Going in dirties. It. After all these years, I'd grown used to his blunt way of speaking, instantly grasping his meaning. When his emotions spiked, I usually soothed him first. But today, knowing he was angry, I couldn't bring myself to placate him as usual. I closed my eyes. Lucas, your words really hurt. Just then, low blood sugar hit. I stumbled, stepping backward. Unfortunately, I stood at the study doorway. The door wasn't closed. My step back took me into the study. Lucas mistook it for defiance. His eyes turned glacial, veins bulging on his forehead. He pointed at me, spewing cruel words, ultimately condensing to 3 sentences. Get out. This is my house, not yours. Get out. Don't ever show up in my house again. I'd heard this before. When I first arrived at the Morrison house, my half-sisters had said the same. Back then, I'd hidden under covers, crying secretly. I'd thought, someday I'd have my own home. One where no one could drive me away. After marriage, I'd mistaken this mansion with Lucas for my home. Even if it couldn't shelter me from storms, it was still my place. But today, he screamed that the house was in his name, bought with his family's money. This wasn't my home. He wanted me gone. Emotions churned, helplessness threatening to drown me. I lowered my head, calculating. Since meeting Lucas at 15, it had been 10 years. At 15, our engagement gave me 5 comfortable years. At 20, I married Lucas and cared for him devotedly for 5 years. 5 years for 5 years. I'd repaid the Harper family's kindness. I was tired of this life. I wanted a divorce. Chapter 5. Once the thought of divorce took root, it grew like a seed breaking through soil. A week later, I met with William. I told him I wanted a divorce. William sat on the estate's sofa, tapping his finger on the table. Why? I told him Lucas had someone he liked. He'd control his temper around her, awkwardly trying to be good. He'd write songs for her, give her gifts, stubbornly trying to make her happy. With Rachel around, Lucas's mood improved significantly. Objectively and subjectively, she suited Lucas better than I did. William listened, then stayed silent. Finally, he cleared his throat and asked seriously. Sophie, do you know why I chose you as my grandson's wife? Because I gave Lucas a bandage? I asked. He shook his head, no. I investigated you. I knew you were kind-hearted, knew your awkward position at the Morrison house, how they mistreated you. You needed this marriage. With it, for the Harper family's sake, your life would improve. Because of that, you'd see Lucas as your lifeline. You'd be grateful, tolerant, even indulgent. When I learned you'd chosen psychology as your major, I knew I'd chosen right. You were exactly that person. He sighed, a boy like Lucas, from his background if he weren't ill, he'd be highly sought after. But he has his conditions. He's my only grandson. Naturally, I had to plan. For him, find him an absolutely loyal wife to care for him forever. This Rachel Green you mention, I don't know what kind of girl she is. I can't trust Lucas to her. He looked at me, laying it all out. Sophie, you grew up at the Morrison house. You know what wealthy men are like. Having one woman outside is nothing, 10 wouldn't be surprising. Compared to them, Lucas is simple, doesn't mess around like other men. That's already very good. Besides, as long as I'm here, no woman can threaten your position as his wife. What more could you want? I understood his meaning, but I didn't want to spend my life at home watching over an autistic patient, living a life where I could see the end from the beginning. Lucas kicked me out, I told William seriously. Now my presence only annoys him. Recently, his episodes have become more frequent. Hearing this, William's expression finally grew serious, reconsidering my relationship with Lucas. After a long while, he finally relented. Sophie, I'll think about the divorce. You go home for now. Also, Lucas is still your husband. We need his opinion too. I nodded and left. How could Lucas disagree? He'd probably be eager to sign the divorce papers. Today brought a light spring rain. Wind gusted outside. Leaving the estate, I saw Lucas. He stood by the unclosed door in a white shirt, holding an umbrella. Rain pooled at the umbrella's tip. I didn't know how long he'd stood there, how much he'd heard. Seeing me, he pressed his lips tight, face pale. You said you want to divorce me? Chapter 6. After I confirmed it, Lucas fell silent, seeming to think. After a while, he asked, after divorce, will you still take care of me? I froze, laughing bitterly. Lucas, divorce means we become strangers. I won't be your wife anymore. I have no obligation to care for you. I see. The rain intensified, slanting drops soaking half his shoulder. Lucas looked at me seriously, shaking his head, no divorce. I hadn't expected him to refuse. Why? I asked. Divorce, no one to take care of me. Don't you like Rachel? She can handle your daily needs. But Lucas stubbornly shook his head, no. She's busy creating. She can't always be home. You're free. You take care of me. I stared at the puddles, feeling cold inside. He thought Rachel had her own pursuits, couldn't bear to trap her at home. But me, the boring, mundane woman in his eyes, was born to revolve around him. Lucas, if you need a caregiver, hire a housekeeper. Before I came, didn't Martha take good care of you? I tried reasoning with him. But he insisted only I could care for him. As he spoke, his hands clenched into fists, palms marked with deep scratches. A sign of an impending episode. I didn't want to argue further and headed home. He followed, repeating no divorce over and over. When I wouldn't agree, he scratched his hands bloody. The Harpers had money. They could afford a housekeeper. I didn't understand Lucas's stubbornness. When I asked, he stammered for ages, finally saying 2 words. Habit. Habits can change, I told him. When I first started caring for you, you weren't used to it either. Everything needs adjustment. With time, you'll get used to someone new. He was more stubborn than a mule. Seeing I wouldn't cooperate, he started shouting. No. No divorce. You have to listen to me. I knew reasoning was useless at times like this. I simply shut my mouth. He thought I'd agreed, his furrowed brow finally relaxing. At the door, seeing Rachel, his eyes instantly brightened. Divorce forgotten. He went into the study with Rachel. Before entering, Lucas deliberately locked it. As if afraid someone would burst in. Soon, melodious piano music drifted out. Mixed with the girls' bright laughter, everything seemed vibrant. When Rachel emerged, it was 10 p.m. Heavy rain poured outside. Lucas looked at the downpour and called to her. Raining. You'll get sick outside. Stay here tonight. Rachel blinked, smiling at him. Silly, I didn't bring pajamas. How can I stay? Lucas pointed at me, she has some. Well, I'd have to ask if your wife agrees to let me stay and lend me clothes. Rachel smiled at me. Before I could answer, Lucas jumped in. She agrees. Rachel's dimple appeared as she tilted her head, chiding him. How can you answer for someone else? Lucas pointed at the mansion. This is my house, not hers. Then at the closet, clothes bought with my family's money. I decide. So Rachel sweetly said to me. Mrs. Harper, I'll stay tonight then. I hope I'm not disturbing your married life. At that, Lucas reacted more strongly than I did. He frantically explained, even waving his hands. We don't have that. That stuff is disgusting. I listened quietly, not looking up, scrolling through my phone. Lucas was right. This wasn't my home. I planned to move out. Chapter 7. Finding a suitable apartment wasn't easy. At the Morrison house, I had no allowance. When I needed something, I asked the butler. Reasonable requests were usually granted. At the Harper house, William gave me $5,000 monthly for expenses. It seemed like a lot, but it covered Lucas's medical bills, therapy, special meals, and all household staff wages and food. Budgeting carefully, I saved maybe a few hundred each month. So my savings weren't much. After 2 days searching, I found an affordable apartment. While packing, Lucas came home. Since I'd mentioned divorce, his attitude had softened slightly. Occasionally, he'd initiate conversation. Like now. He asked, packing these to throw away? I shook my head, no. He pointed at my clothes, throw them out. Ugly. You don't understand art or coordination. These clothes are all ugly. I stopped, looking at him, what's pretty then? He thought seriously, answering, like Rachel. Pretty. Learn from her. I have money. I can buy for you. I looked at the white dress on top, freezing. Lucas had chosen this dress himself when we shopped together last year. I still clearly remembered his reaction when I came out of the fitting room. He'd stammered repeatedly, saying just 2 words. Pretty. Same dress, but now he called it outdated and dowdy. Had the dress changed, or the person? I lowered my eyes, continuing to pack, no need. I like my own style. Anger gradually filled Lucas's eyes. He dropped a whatever and turned to leave. The door slammed with a bang that made my ears ring. That night, he didn't leave his room again. So he didn't know I'd left the mansion. When I first came to the Harpers, I had one 24-inch suitcase and a blue backpack. Leaving, I had the same. Lucas was right. This wasn't my home, so I owned very little here. I only stayed at the apartment one day before heading to Seattle. As a child, Mom always said things would get better. When she saved enough money, she'd take me traveling. After Mom died, I told myself things would get better. When I saved enough, I'd travel myself. But life rarely goes as planned. I'd jumped from one cage to another. Lucas needed constant care. I couldn't go far. I'd tried taking him along. But he'd lived in this city so long, adapting to new environments was hard. Without security, he'd have anxiety attacks on trains. Even eating became problematic. I had to take him off at the next stop and go home. As excited as I'd been planning the trip, that's how disappointed I was getting off. Apparently, saving money didn't guarantee travel. Because of obligations. Because of no time. But now, I finally stood at the foot of Mount Rainier. Wind rippled the lake, reshaping clouds. I cycled along trails, music in my ears. Past wheat fields, meadows, light dancing on water, clouds cradled by mountains. All life's rigid rhythms dissolved in the lake's lapping waves. Life became free and swaying. I became useless yet vibrantly alive. Other burnt-out souls gathered here, setting up various stalls. We sat on the ground under stars, exchanging stories. A medical student who'd quit after near breakdown, now living nomadically. She said here, days weren't chopped into fragments by schedules. A patient healing from illness said nobody knew the future, but at least the present was growing. We met briefly, touched each other's most tender secrets. Then like mountain streams, flowed our separate winding ways. Later, I watched sunrise alone at the pier. The lake's waves scattered sunlight into dancing coins. When struggling to survive at the Morrison house, I hadn't cried. When Lucas spewed venom and kicked me out, I hadn't cried. But now, I covered my face, shoulders shaking. I'd never felt freedom so deeply before. No endless alarms, no planner full of reminders. I answered the mountain's call, could spend entire days daydreaming. 2 weeks later, I finally reconnected my phone. When I'd left the Harper house, I'd texted William briefly explaining. Now reconnecting, missed calls flooded in. From Dad. From William, from Lucas. Sitting on the return bus, I called William. Sophie. His voice was thick with exhaustion. Come back quickly. Lucas, his condition is very bad. Chapter 8. I returned to the Harper house. After I left, Lucas had been furious. He didn't know how to manage life. The medicine cabinet's bottle sheet didn't know the daily doses. I'd always brought water and pills to him. He had a press conference but didn't know where his suit's matching tie was. He tried contacting me but couldn't reach me. The butler said Lucas had a massive meltdown. He'd smashed all the dishes, knocked over the standing AC unit, even flipped the coffee table and cabinets. The house was chaos. William had to find him a new housekeeper. But the new woman didn't understand him, was at a loss. When I returned, Lucas had lost weight, his chin sharp. Seeing me, he darkened his expression, turning away coldly. Why come back? Didn't you want to leave? Hate you. Liar. While I traveled, William had found my landlord. Said something that made him refuse to rent to me anymore. So I brought my luggage back again. Lucas saw my suitcase, snorting softly. Morrison family doesn't want you. You have nowhere to live. Still have to come back? I didn't explain, silently taking my luggage to my room. As I turned away, Lucas behind me slightly curved his lips. Mood seemingly lighter. He didn't know my real reason for returning. If the apartment was gone, I could rent another. I could even leave the city, start fresh somewhere new. William and I had talked extensively on the phone. I told him I'd researched divorce law. I could file first. If the first attempt failed, fine. I'd live separately from Lucas. After a year, file again. By law, the second attempt would succeed. He asked why I insisted on divorce when I'd get nothing financially. Yes. William was shrewd. Before marriage, he'd had me sign a prenup with Lucas. All Lucas's assets were premarital, including his studio. If we divorced, I'd leave with nothing. I know, but I still want divorce. The Harper engagement protected me for 5 years. I cared for him for 5 years. We're even. On the other end, William stayed silent for a long time. Just when I thought he'd hang up, he said, I've hired a new housekeeper. She doesn't know how to care for Lucas. Care for him 1 more month, do the handover. As payment, I won't block the divorce, and I'll give you $1 million. The terms were too generous to refuse. So Lucas didn't know this was my last month with him. The butler said while I was gone, he hadn't eaten properly. But tonight, Lucas ate 2 bowls of rice. He snorted at me, praised me. I smiled, saying softly like always, very good. His lips curved beautifully. When he returned to his study, I quickly told the new housekeeper, Janet, he likes praise. Praise him often. If he makes mistakes, don't point them out immediately. Mention it casually later. Janet pulled out a notebook, writing down everything I said. I took her to the medicine cabinet, explaining each medication's schedule and dosage. Pills need water. Not too hot, about 104 degrees Fahrenheit is best. His ties and cufflinks are in the second closet drawer. He needs warm milk before bed. I told Janet all his habits. She took notes seriously. After I returned, Lucas's life got back on track. No more episodes. But today, when Janet brought him medicine, something crashed in his room. Chapter 9. When I arrived, the floor was littered with debris. Broken glass and scattered pills everywhere. Lucas stood barefoot, stepping on glass shards, blood flowing. He seemed unaware, just pointing at Janet, asking me word by word. Why her? Why not you? This is clearly your job. Why change people? He grabbed my sleeve, shaking his head, I don't want someone else. Only you can bring medicine. So I got him water and pills again. His moods came and went quickly. After watching him take the medicine I brought, I asked, why does it have to be me? Seeing it wasn't you, I felt scared. I asked softly, scared of what? Scared you'd hand me to someone else. Then leave and abandon me. His intuition was remarkably sharp. I was indeed handing over to Janet, letting her gradually take over Lucas's life. Lucas still held my sleeve, you have to do it. From now on. No changing people. Promise me you won't leave. Given Lucas's stubborn nature, if I told the truth, he'd definitely cause a scene. I didn't want to spend energy soothing his emotions anymore. So I looked him in the eye and lied, okay, I promise. I won't leave. Won't change people either. Only half a month left anyway. Just half a month more of bringing him medicine. Lucas curved his lips, smiling with satisfaction. He didn't notice his leg still dripping blood. And this time, I didn't get antiseptic to clean his wound like usual. He also didn't notice Janet's pitying gaze. Everyone knew I was leaving. Only he remained in his own world. At noon, I saw Rachel again. She stood at the mansion entrance, gaze on the second-floor study window. Lucas sat by the window, head down, playing piano. Rachel lingered but didn't find Lucas. She found me instead. She handed me a stack of yellowed sheet music. He's been looking for this piece. Please give it to him. I paused, Lucas is right upstairs. Why not go yourself? No. Rachel shook her head, smiling bitterly. He doesn't want to see me anymore. Only then did I realize Rachel used to visit constantly, but hadn't appeared recently. Even the ring she'd given Lucas had vanished. Mrs. Harper, Rachel said softly, interrupting my thoughts. She asked, you can tell I like Lucas, right? I nodded. It was obvious. At the concert, everyone was in groups. Only he stood alone, out of place. I noticed him immediately. He's so handsome. I forgot what pieces were played that day, just stared at him. When I learned his phone was dead, I offered to take him home. I'm not stupid. After 2 sentences, I knew he wasn't quite normal. But I thought he was especially cute, especially pure. Mentioning Lucas, Rachel's eyes held gentle laughter. When you left, William contacted me, saying you wanted divorce. Hearing this, I was actually happy. I always thought you and Lucas were from different worlds. He's immersed in artistic space, you only see mundane life. He and I share idols, like the same music styles, always have endless music to discuss. I suit him better than you. I advised Lucas that divorcing you would be good. I could take responsibility for caring for him. But do you know what happened? Chapter 10. Rachel kept standing at the mansion entrance talking to me. I asked if she wanted to come in and sit. She looked up at Lucas on the second floor, shaking her head. Rachel said after I left, she'd stayed with Lucas at the mansion for days. In the study, Lucas discussed music with her. Outside the study, Lucas discussed me. I made him a strawberry cake. He froze, then told me you loved strawberries most. The living room sofa had a row of stuffed animals. He said you'd sewn them by hand, you'd named each one together. His room's display case held photos of you both. I tried counting but lost track. Know what I couldn't accept most? Rachel looked at me, eyes dim. He played a chord progression. Said this melody suited you. He'd never been apart from you this long. He missed you. I hadn't known any of this. Then what? I wanted to know why Lucas suddenly refused to see her. Then I suddenly realized Lucas and I had known each other so long, but besides music, he'd never discussed anything else. We'd never had physical contact. I asked if he'd divorce you. Without any hesitation, he said no, straight out. That night I went a bit crazy. I wanted to prove he liked me. So I went to his room, undressed in front of him, asked him to try with me. He'd said being with you was disgusting. If he'd be with me, wouldn't that prove he liked me? I said nothing, quietly letting Rachel finish. I never expected his reaction. Disbelief, panic, disgust, rejection. I can't describe such complex expressions. Anyway, he was furious, shook off my hand and threw me out. Before leaving, his face was red with anger. He said he'd thought I was different from others. Turns out I was just as vulgar. He said don't come find him again. He didn't want to see me anymore. Rachel lowered her lashes, hiding the loneliness in her eyes. When I left, he sat among the stuffed animals on the sofa, softly calling your name. When I liked a married man, I could tell myself Lucas didn't like you, that you'd trapped an innocent with marriage. The unloved one was the third party. But now, she gazed at the person behind glass, exhaling, I still like him, but I know it's impossible. Please give this to him. I searched for this score for a long time. Whether Lucas didn't see or didn't want to see her. Rachel stood at the Harper gate over an hour. Lucas never once looked down at her. When she left, she walked slowly. But until she completely disappeared from view, she never got the eye contact she wanted. Lucas had been especially clingy lately. Even starting conversations just to chat. He asked where I'd disappeared to for half a month. I showed him travel photos and videos, sharing interesting experiences. The March Street Market sold brooches and earrings made from Mount Rainier pine cones. So Creative Aid definitely love them if you saw. Know about tie-dye, cat sculptures, plant printing, woodblock printing? Look, I made all these myself. Very meaningful souvenirs. I also went mushroom picking with locals, following mountain valley streams. Filled a whole basket first time I truly felt the joy of harvest. Oh, sorry, am I talking too much? I wasn't usually talkative, but somehow when Lucas asked about my travels, I couldn't stop rambling. Not even giving him time to interject. Lucas just smiled, chin propped on his hand, it's fine. You talk. I'll listen. He quietly listened to me describe everything vividly. Finally asked, do you really like traveling? I nodded without hesitation. But I always feel more secure at home. Though it's fine. Can try. I froze, try what? Lucas played with the cat sculpture I'd made, not answering. Lately he hadn't gone to the studio, preferring to stay home. Today, he suddenly called my name from the study. Sophie. I asked what he needed. He opened the door, beckoning me, come in. I still remembered his fury last time I'd entered the study. So I didn't move, still standing at the doorway. But he pulled my sleeve, bringing me into the study. From now on, you can come in. No one else. Only you. I have a gift for you. Chapter 11. The study was large. Besides desk and chairs, there was a white piano. Today Lucas wore a black suit with a tie. He only dressed this formally for performances. Sunset. Light through the floor-to-ceiling windows bathed Lucas. He wore the sunset, hair edged with pale gold. Butterfly wing lashes fluttering, his fingers danced, notes spilling forth. Some people are tone-deaf. Like me. I don't understand legato or dynamics. I only knew the piano's sound layered and built. Like early spring waves in the sea, surging with mountain mist echoes. Each floating note calling it romantic seemed cheap, profound seemed heavy. I listened quietly. When the piece ended, he looked up at me, beautiful? I nodded sincerely, applauding, beautiful. It's a first draft. Needs work. He pointed at thick sheet music. After revisions, it'll be better. I loved this piece, so asked, what's it called? Lucas hesitated, saying softly, haven't decided. This piece is written for you. Your birthday's soon. This is the gift. I froze, not expecting such a gift. He coughed twice, suddenly changing topics. Do you know why I got sick? I'd asked William. He said Lucas's illness came from inadequate care. But Lucas told me, not the housekeeper. My parents. Oh. He fell silent, seeming to want to explain everything. But his fingers trembled, as if just remembering exhausted all his strength. It's okay. If it's too painful, you don't have to tell me. I poured him warm water. He gritted his teeth, must tell. You should know. After long mental preparation, he spoke with extreme difficulty. Dad pursued Mom a long time before she agreed to marry. 2 years later, Mom discovered Dad had other women outside. First time, Mom was furious. Dad knelt, promised he'd change. But then came second, third, fourth times. I caught Dad at home with someone. Really disgusting. Mom couldn't take it. Took me and moved out. Dad found us, begged Mom's forgiveness. Mom softened again, went home. Only after returning did Mom discover Dad hadn't broken it off. He'd even brought that woman when coming to find Mom. Mom put me to bed on one side. Dad slept with that woman next door. But this time, Mom didn't cry or fight. Suddenly very calm. She even invited Dad on a family trip. Our first family trip. Also the last. He gripped his sleeves tightly, suppressing churning emotions. That night, in a strange city. Mom took a knife, stabbed it into Dad's heart. Dad bled everywhere, fought back hard, strangled Mom's neck. Mom locked me on the balcony. I pounded the door desperately, couldn't get out. When I woke, Mom and Dad would never move again. I froze in place. This wasn't the version I'd heard. Lucas's parents' love story was high society legend. His father had an arranged fiancée but fell for his ordinary background mother at first sight. His mother didn't want involvement with aristocracy, initially refused. His father courted her 4 years before she finally accepted. After marriage, they were loving. Soon had Lucas. But happiness was brief. On an outing, his mother had a heart attack and died. His father, not wanting his wife alone, followed her. Who'd imagine this romantic tale hid such a cold, bloody truth? And Lucas, witnessing his parents' deaths, was only 6, mind still unformed. He fell seriously ill. Woke up like this. I finally understood why Lucas felt insecure away from home, why he resisted marriage and intimacy so much. Sophie, I'm telling you this so you'll know me. The complete me. He sat beside me, hesitating before slowly, bit by bit, touching his palm to the back of my hand. I know I'm sick. I'll overcome it. From now on, you can enter the study. I won't scold you. You can hold my hand too. I won't pull away. I'll take medicine obediently, won't lose my temper with you. He looked at me earnestly. Such sincere eyes, as if offering his heart. For the first time, I truly felt his palm's warmth. Maybe the ambiguous light, but his voice was especially gentle. Sophie, let's travel together. I'll try going somewhere new. When we return, we'll celebrate your birthday. He pulled my hand, opening a map to seriously study cities. I watched the darkening sky and called William. I told him about Lucas wanting to travel. William thought a moment, asking, is the handover with Janet complete? Less than a week until I left. If we traveled, I'd leave directly after returning. Everything's been explained to Janet. William hummed, if he wants to go out, that's good. Take him. Lucas and I discussed extensively, deciding on Yellowstone together. Chapter 12. Lucas researched guides, planned itineraries. He even brought out a camera, I can photograph you, record memories. He was very organized. Made a packed schedule, even pre-decided daily meals. Our destination was Yellowstone. Boarding the plane, I clearly felt Lucas's emotional fluctuation. Perhaps due to being locked on a balcony, he disliked enclosed spaces. Like that time on the train, he became anxious and restless. Sitting beside me, he tugged my sleeve, pressing closer and closer. Planes aren't like trains. Can't get off midway. If you're uncomfortable, let's go back. Don't force yourself. Lucas pressed his lips tight, shaking his head, it's fine. We're going. I don't want to ruin this for you again. During takeoff, he held my hand, palm sweating. Midway through severe turbulence, the plane shook violently. Lucas kept his eyes closed the whole time, as if napping. But sweat dampened hair in his tight grip on my hand revealed his current state. He was very nervous. After landing in Denver, the drive took another 4 hours. Lucas remained highly alert. The completely different climate and environment made him more anxious than usual. I soothed him the whole way. He forced a smile, Sophie, I'm really fine. I believed him, taking him to the hotel suite, then showering. When I came out, Lucas was crouched in a corner, trembling slightly. Seeing me, he took 2 deep breaths, rummaged through the luggage, and swallowed 2 mood stabilizers. Before I could speak, he stood up casually, I'll shower too. I'm fine, really fine. Don't worry. That night, he tossed and turned, unable to sleep. All these years, he'd never left his bed at the mansion. Must be the unfamiliar bed. I asked softly, want me to tell you a bedtime story? It's okay. I'm almost asleep. You sleep too. Tomorrow, we'll see the geysers together. After that he stopped moving, quiet as if truly asleep. But next day, the dark circles revealed his sleepless night. He barely ate, constantly taking pills. I'd looked forward to Yellowstone, but seeing his condition, all my attention went to him. I didn't even appreciate the morning mist over the hot springs. No matter what, I'd brought him out. I had to bring him back safely. Lucas pointed at distant rolling mountains. Don't look at me. Look there. Go over. I'll photograph. He took out his phone to photograph me, hands trembling as he pressed the shutter. Other tourists saw him, softly exclaiming. Why does he look so terrible? Like altitude sickness. Can't be. This elevation's under 8,000 feet. Lucas looked at me, trying to explain, just adjusting. It's fine. He pulled me around taking many photos, but was never satisfied. Wrong. Not like this. I asked what was wrong. He didn't answer, wringing his sleeves into twists. An old man passed us, shaking his head. Young people today sure love photos. Your boyfriend looks terrible. Instead of the hospital, you're here taking pictures. Lucas lowered his head embarrassed, staring at his shoes, breathing deeply. Sophie, let's take photos later. Let's walk first. We walked together through the park. Nearby couples ran freely against the mountain wind. I watched their backs, sighing softly, so free. He tried quickening his pace, running with me through the wilderness. But the unfamiliar environment made him extra cautious. He couldn't feel freedom like normal people. He could only say, Sophie, you run. I'll record. No need. Let's walk slowly together. Along the way were many bison, elk passing nearby. Quieting down was comfortable too. But Lucas said nothing, mouth twisting in self-mockery. 3 days out, he'd visibly lost weight, looking haggard. If travel recharged me, for him it was torture. Suppressed emotions eventually explode. That day, I tried horseback riding. Lucas stood still, raising the camera to photograph me. The horse spread its legs, gradually accelerating from walk to trot. Lucas held the camera, shutter clicking repeatedly. I was consumed by the rush of galloping, slowly closing my eyes. Then a piercing scream reached my ears. I quickly came back to myself. It was Lucas's voice. Chapter 13. Lucas had an episode. The trigger was a couple nearby. The couple argued about something. The man said he'd beat the woman when they got back. The woman said if he dared leave, she'd stab him to death. Marital arguments with harsh words. Everyone else avoided them. Only Lucas slowly turned, staring. The fiercer they argued, the heavier Lucas breathed. Maybe from days of high tension, maybe remembering bad memories when the man pushed the woman down, Lucas rushed to block him. Then he had his episode. During episodes, Lucas couldn't control his emotions. I stayed beside him, soothing him over and over. Only at sunset did he gradually calm down. Sophie, I'm sorry for worrying you. He sat on the grass, hugging his knees, eyes dejected. Traveling with me is terrible, isn't it? I gently shook my head. No, not terrible. But you're not happy. I saw your photos from Seattle. You smiled so vibrantly. After coming home, you've never been that happy again. I wanted to make you happy, so I asked you to travel. But in my lens, you're nowhere near as bright as in those strangers' photos in Seattle. When you were writing, I finally captured one satisfying photo. But after just one, I had an episode. Sophie, I'm so useless. With me, even travel can't relax you. Bringing someone who could have episodes anytime, how could anyone relax? He spoke truth. I couldn't refute it. I sat with him on the grass, watching sunset slowly sink below the horizon. He sat there, the light in his dark eyes sparse and broken, voice hoarse. Sophie, I really am a terrible person. When darkness fell completely, I stood and brushed off grass. Don't overthink. We already booked return flights for tomorrow. The trip will end soon. Tomorrow we'd return. Day after was my birthday. Day after that, I could leave with my $1 million. Lucas stood with me, expression low, silent the whole way. Even during the return journey, he stayed unusually quiet. Occasionally arranging something on his phone. Back home, he finally relaxed, breathing more steadily. Before bed, after much hesitation, he said, "Good night, Sophie. Tomorrow, I have a new birthday gift for you." I'd thought the birthday gift would be a song or object. But next day, he appeared at my door in a suit. "Sophie, let's go to City Hall. To file for divorce." Lucas was very stubborn. He never changed his mind once decided. So after saying no divorce, I'd prepared to spend a year or two on litigation. I hadn't expected Lucas to change his mind. I couldn't help asking, why? He said calmly, "You're unhappy. I don't want to burden you anymore." Saying this, he even forced lightness, beautiful eyes curving shallowly. But his eyes were bloodshot. "Sophie, I'm twisted and slow. I only realized I loved you after you left. I thought darkly no matter what, I'd keep you by my side. But with me, you're unhappy. Really, not happy at all." Here his voice choked, eyes reddening. "I've burdened you long enough. I don't want you sad anymore. So I'm letting go." This was my first time seeing him cry. I'd thought someone like him would never shed tears. But in the car to City Hall, his tears burned hot, hitting my palm like unstoppable spring rain. The car stopped at City Hall. He wiped away tears with his hand. With reddened eyes, he opened my door, smiling with difficulty. Sophie, my 25th birthday gift to you is freedom. Chapter 14. The divorce cooling-off period was 30 days. During those 30 days, William tried to keep me. He asked, Lucas has realized his feelings for you. Must you divorce? Obviously staying would give you a better life. I shook my head, no. He didn't understand. Sophie, nothing happened between him and Rachel. Besides, he loves you now. His love just came a bit late. Will you abandon him like this? Can't you give him another chance? But I still shook my head, I can't. Once you've tasted freedom, you can't willingly be bound again. Leaving the Harper family caused an uproar. Dad called to berate me. Mrs. Morrison blamed me too. They said I should be grateful to Lucas. If the Harpers hadn't chosen me, they'd have married me off. Maybe to some widowed middle-aged man, maybe some creepy guy who liked young girls. What more could you want? Your sister's husband has 3 kids outside. She endures it, we can't you? Finally, Dad threatened to disown me. I nodded, fine. 30 days later, Lucas and I went to City Hall for the divorce certificate. With it came a check. Lucas's assets, after valuation, totaled about 10 billion. This check was for 10 billion. He handed me the 10 billion check. Sophie, from now on travel farther, climb higher mountains, see broader horizons. Also, can I still see you in the future? I nodded, of course. I'll invite you to my birthday party every year. Lucas sighed, finally smiling. Condensing thousands of words into one phrase. Sophie, take care. Chapter 15, Lucas's POV. I first realized I liked Sophie at the estate. When she told grandfather she wanted to divorce me. My instinctive reaction was resistance. Realizing I didn't want divorce, I froze. Because of my parents, I'd always hated, rejected, even feared marriage. I'd always felt Sophie had trapped me with marriage. I'd always looked forward to ending it someday. But I discovered. When that day truly came, I resisted it deeply. I lied to myself and Sophie, saying I was just used to her presence. I deliberately let Rachel stay over. Deliberately said Rachel's clothes looked good. I wanted to prove I didn't like Sophie, didn't like this woman grandfather forced on me. Then Sophie left. Learning this, I was angry, anxious, and guilty. Angry she'd left without a word, angry she'd abandoned me. Anxious to find her and bring her back. Rachel appeared then, advising me to divorce. Even undressing, wanting me to do those things. Nameless fire surged through me. I strongly rejected intimacy, didn't want such relations with anyone. But in that moment, a thought inexplicably floated through my mind. If the person opposite was Sophie, maybe it wouldn't be impossible. I finally couldn't lie to myself anymore. I'd fallen for Sophie. I missed her so much. Missing her, I could only bury my face in the stuffed animals she'd sewn. Later, she finally returned. I remained stubborn, but inside I was overjoyed. But somehow, I always felt something. Felt she was doing handover, then pushing me to that new Janet. I feared being abandoned by her again. Even in death, I wanted her to die beside me. So I deliberately showed goodwill. Chatted with her, wrote songs for her, bared my heart. But I discovered she wasn't happy. Before me, she was always lifeless. Like a numb walking corpse. But clearly in those travel videos, she was so full of life. I wanted her happier. I asked her to travel together. Then I learned travel didn't bring Sophie vitality. Leaving me revived her spirit. Even traveling with me, she was exhausted. Having to watch for my potential episodes, never truly able to relax. That day, sitting on Yellowstone's grassland, I suddenly felt sorry for her. How unlucky was she to meet me? If she stayed with me longer, would she forget how to smile? I thought, if so, then give her freedom. Originally, I'd wanted to give her that song for her 25th birthday. The song took great effort, but I always felt it lacked something. I don't like imperfect things. Maybe it was fate I should change gifts. So I changed it to freedom for her. Along with the check she deserved. All these years, she'd suffered. After divorce, I locked myself in the study. Looking over and over at the song I'd written for Sophie. I'd revised many times, never satisfied. Until one night, Sophie appeared in my dream. 15-year-old her, smiling at me in the rose garden, doesn't it hurt? You're bleeding so much and ignoring it. 20-year-old her, smiling at me, Lucas, let me take care of you from now on, okay? 25-year-old her, carefully producing headphones, here, your birthday gift. I fought hard to get these. When I woke, my pillow was soaked. I knew what the song lacked. I shut myself in the study for 2 days revising, then recorded it at the studio. This was the best piece I'd ever written. It was called Sophie. Dedicated to my eternal love. Sophie became very popular. I gave her the copyright. It was always meant for her. We agreed to meet once a year. Other times, I could only watch her social media. She went horseback riding, racing, skiing. The quiet, rule following her hid such an untamed soul. A beautiful flower I'd raised to wilt. After leaving me, she finally bloomed again. How wonderful. Year after year thereafter, I looked forward to Sophie's birthday. Because only then could I see her. Her, thriving and growing. Chapter 16. This birthday, many friends came. Lucas still arrived earliest, sitting quietly in the corner. Every birthday, he brought me gifts. Always the most expensive there. William once asked if I'd remarry Lucas. He said since I left, Lucas had stayed single. I laughed, shaking my head. In refusal. I'd once truly loved Lucas. He was my girlish dream. But years flow like water, eventually wearing away love. He'd become someone I'd left in yesterday. The end.